Welcome in, everybody, to the GC Live Postgame Show. I am Mike Uva, and alongside me is former Gamecock quarterback Perry Orth. We also have intern Joe on the phones with us tonight. We will get to intern Joe in a little bit as people start to make their way in for our postgame show. Appreciate having you guys. Bottom line is this, Perry. Was it the prettiest of wins for South Carolina? No. But at the end of the day, it's a win, and we'll get into it a little bit more in a little bit. You can't sit here and say what they were able to do over the last 2 weeks. Again, wasn't flawless. Plenty of things that we can break down, some of the ugly, if you will. But what they were able to accomplish the last 2 weeks from a confidence standpoint, you can't sit here today and say that this team beats Kentucky if they don't have these last 2 weeks. I'm sorry. I just can't sit here and say that they do.
Yeah, that's right. Now, I was just thinking that before we got on, how important confidence is for athletes, especially at the high school or the collegiate level. Like, the kids have to have confidence in whatever it is that they're doing. And, we were really down in the dumps after the Georgia loss just because it wasn't even a competitive game. And you play a couple lesser teams, get your feet underneath you, but then you have success. And you do some good things, and you gain confidence, and you go on the road and play the number 13 team in the country, and you just stonewall them. On the road at night seemed like an electric environment, and Kentucky had absolutely no answer for anything that we did. Now, we struggled on offense in the first half, but listen, we played great defense and timely offense, and when if you want to win on the road in the SEC, you have to pack your defense. I know that with me being a quarterback, everybody's going to want to talk offense, which I get, and I think that at times offense looked good. At times there were some things that we could probably improve on, but all in all, to sit here and nitpick when you go on the road and win at number 13 Kentucky, by the way, a team that we really haven't played well against over the last decade. It's a huge win, big program win, big culture win. I know that, Mark Stoops came out and said that he wasn't referencing South Carolina. But nonetheless, it was an enormous win for South Carolina. And I know those guys are partying their tails off right now in the locker room.
And I know there's plenty of comments that are coming in on the side. We will get to them in a little bit. You mentioned the sunglasses. I do want to get into that in a little bit because, let's just get right into it right now. Okay, I know it's not the most important thing, but let's just get right into it. Shane Beamer was asked this question back, I don't know how many weeks ago it was. Maybe it was right before the start of the season. I'll ask intern Joe. We'll have him on here because I know intern Joe was at a lot of these press conferences. But that was asked to him, and in true Beamer fashion, he downplayed it and, gave the PC answer. And I don't blame him for doing that whatsoever. But what I can tell you is, if you don't think that this program took those comments personally, you're lying to yourself. And I don't know if you can pull it up right now, Gamecock Football's Twitter account right now, but they tweeted, I believe, I'm trying to see if I can pull it up, for the culture. I also saw a tweet, and maybe they took it down. I thought I saw one that had some shades up there. So it's something that was going around. It was something that was discussed. I can tell you this, when all that stuff was going on, I was told from people close to inside the building that it bothered a lot of people on that staff. And that was something that they were going to remember. Now, ultimately, it wasn't going to be something that they were going to, harp on like this and that, but it's something that was certainly there.
Let me ask you a question, Mike. Was that statement really like attacking Coach Beamer, or
I think what it was more than anything is just the timing of it all. Is the fact that, I looked at it, and when I read the comments, it was kind of like, all right, it's just the timing of it, right? Because the fact that Mark Stoops did that interview a day after the video came out, because this is way back during SEC media days. I think here's the way I looked at it. And I really don't want to spend all our time talking about this. I want to talk about the win, of course. But the way I looked at it was this. it was said, it was probably like not a direct shot at Beamer. It was more so like, hey, look, there's more that goes into building culture than, slogans and dancing around,
Yeah.
this and that. And I do agree with that to an extent. And the reason I say extent is everyone does things their own different ways, right? In their own unique ways. And the way that Beamer has helped change the culture. And I know it's such a cliche phrase to use. There's much more that goes into it. You're doing that right now over at Cardinal Newman, Perry. Yeah, as you guys go into year one over there. But I say that because it was just more so of a timing standpoint. But the coaches, the people in that program, they did take it personally. And you know it. If you can find anything extra to find motivation with, you're going to take it. So is this the reason why South Carolina won tonight? Certainly not. But it was something extra. It was there.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's no doubt anytime that you can find any bulletin board material to motivate your players, you definitely want to do that. We do it all the time. Anything, any kind of edge that you can create to have your guys extra locked in throughout the week of practice certainly helps, more so than throwing some stuff up, before guys run out onto the tunnel, but you use it as motivation so they're mentally focused on the plan that you put forward through the week. It obviously was a good plan. I mean, Clayton White, I don't know if you wanted to start on the offense or defensive side of the ball or give intern Joe a chance to talk on it, but let me tell you, man, the defense was lights out tonight.
Unbelievable.
I mean, unbelievable performance with Boogie Huntley out. I know they had a little success running the ball early, but man, after that, it was a whole lot of nothing. And I get it was a backup quarterback, but it doesn't really matter, man. That kid was probably a 4-star kid coming out of high school, and they had no success on pretty much anything they did. They had one decent drive in the first half. Besides that, kid looked lost all night, and hats off to the defensive staff. Holy cow.
Before we get into that, Joe, I do want to just put this one up here for John. Yes, we are taking calls. I put that number up right now if you want to call into the program. It is 803-567-3796. Once again, it is 803-567-3796. If you want to call into the program, the lines are open. So, Joe, as soon as people start calling in, release the hounds. But anything that you want to say, Joe, before people start calling you?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, Perry teed me up perfectly with the defense. This defense entered the game like last in the SEC in sacks, and they got 3 of them. I mean, big sacks. We saw Jordan Birch. I mean, this fan base has been complaining about Jordan Birch for the longest time, about him being such a highly weighted recruit, and that's nothing against the fan base. Like, I understand the frustration, but I mean, we saw the Jordan Birch that the fan base wanted to see tonight. I think. Yeah. We saw that. I mean, Mike, we've been talking about it for weeks. Like, I mean, turnovers come in bunches. Tonight we saw it via the fumble, and then Gilbert Edmond got his pick. Overall, like, this defense, I mean, Chris Rodriguez had a decent stat line, but they contained the run for the most part. And I mean, locked down the wide receivers. And sure, Kentucky's wide receivers were in and out and banged up and whatnot. But I mean, this defense just really, really, really performed and stepped up in a tough environment, Mike.
No, yeah. I agree, Joe. And we'll let you be back there if people want to call into the program. I will say this, Perry. I tweeted this out towards the end of the game. Certainly, South Carolina still needs to improve on stopping the run. Hopefully, if they're able to get a guy like Boogie Huntley back to as close to 100% as possible coming off the bye week, in addition to being able to get other guys on a defense that has been very banged up all season. Let's call it for what it is, very banged up. But all things considered, you knew Kentucky was going to try to run the football tonight. Of course, things changed a little bit more when you don't have a guy like Will Levis, but I felt like they were going to try to run the football regardless, and you were able to contain that for the most part. One guy in particular that really stood out to me, Perry, and I know looks like Joe's getting a call right now, so we'll get into it a little bit more, but man, it was great to see Darius Rush out there tonight. I mean, he was making some big plays. We saw the forced fumble. We saw a couple pass breakups. Just the difference in the impact that defense just looks like when he's on the field. So, again, we're going to wait to see what intern Joe has to say, because I know you probably have thoughts on that. I'm just waiting for the thumbs up from intern Joe. So if we are good. We are good. All right, Joe, who we have? John, how we doing?
John Edward, yep. Go ahead, boss.
Yeah.
How we doing?
Oh, obviously great, Mike. Obviously great. I mean, I just want to, I've been listening to y'all and kind of want to echo like the defense. I think I heard Joe talking. Yeah, I don't even know what Chris Rodriguez's stat line was. Like it's a little hard to keep up with it during the radio broadcast, but I'll probably go back and look later. But it sounds like he had a decent stat line. But
I got you, John. 22 carries for 126.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't have an explosive run tonight. He really didn't. I mean, he would have a long run, but I can't remember a explosive run from Rodriguez tonight. We held him in check, and that was my whole thing coming in, regardless if it was Levis or I can't remember this kid that played tonight for them, but
Sharon tonight.
I'm like Sharon. So yes, I'm like, you still got to stop the run tonight, regardless if it's Levis or Sharon. It didn't matter to me, and I think we did that for the tonight, and so yeah, I mean, let me ask you this. I think Mike in particular, like, do you think Spencer looked more comfortable second half?
I think that's a better question for Perry. I mean, in my opinion, it reminded me
Perry,
a lot.
Well, I don't know what Perry thinks.
It reminded me a lot of what we saw, and it was ironic because they brought a stat up tonight that this was, from an offensive standpoint, the least amount of offensive yards that South Carolina has had since that 2017-18 season in that Outback Bowl, when it looked like night and day in comparison in the second half against Michigan. That's what it reminded me of. Now, were they moving the ball in the same manner in which they did in that Outback Bowl? Certainly not. Jake Bentley had a phenomenal second half, but Rattler just looked smarter with the football in the second half. I mean, there were certain things, and Perry could speak better of it, but just looked like certain things, like even that play with Austin Stogner, and I'm not saying it's all on Rattler. There were some times when the pass rush was there, but he was throwing off his back foot, just not giving himself the same opportunities I feel like he could have. But that, again, Perry could speak a hell of a lot better on it.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I think my observation of the second half was that we started getting the ball to our best playmakers, right? We weren't just forcing things just to run them. We were getting the ball to Jaheim Bell, got the ball to Antoine Wells in space, and obviously broke a tackle and scored on the screen route. And then ultimately we fed Marshawn Lloyd and got him the ball as often as we could. I thought that after the interception, Spencer really did seem to kind of settle down, but I also felt like they made it a point of emphasis, like, we are going to get the ball in our best playmakers' hands. You throw that drag route on man, versus man coverage on 3rd and short that Jalen Brooks takes for 30 yards and stepped out, and we ended up getting 3 points there. And then what a phenomenal call, that little reverse orbit motion they ran, and then ran the option reverse. I mean, that was a beautifully designed play, beautifully timed call. I mean, I remember watching the reverse thinking, my eyes were there, and then you flip back on the reverse and Jalen Brooks scores. So it looks like they changed what they were trying to do, which ultimately helped Spencer Rattler get the ball out of your hand quick, let him make quick, easy throws, get him, be on time, be accurate, and good things happen to any quarterback when you do those things.
And it was just good to be able to see them get the run game going too in the second half. I know there were some longer runs, so it makes that stat line for Marshawn Lloyd look a little misleading, if that makes sense. Not trying to take away from, but the point being is he had that long run in the second half as a 45-yard run. So you take that away, and I hate to be the, if you take that away kind of guy, but, he had 110 yards on the night. If you do take that away, though, that's what? I mean, I was awful at math. I'd put that put you at 65 yards rushing. So the point being is I felt like early on, now granted, I will say this, Perry, and I don't know if you saw this, and, maybe you can, try to put us in a better spot, because there's a lot of fans that are probably saying, okay, what was going on with the play calling in the first half? To me, what it looked like was South Carolina was trying to counter for the fact of Kentucky bringing extra guys down in the box. And the reason why they were doing that is because of what you were able to do the last 2 weeks. We talked about this ad nauseum the last couple of weeks. By running the football, we're going to find out if Kentucky respects your run game. Now, maybe they just don't respect your passing game whatsoever, but the first couple games in the Rattler era, teams weren't really bringing extra guys down, and the passing lanes weren't there. Tonight, we saw Kentucky bring guys down the box. Unfortunately, some of the passes weren't there, but that's one of the reasons I felt like we didn't see as much running, at least early in the game.
Yeah, I would agree. I think the other thing, I really liked the commentary tonight from the broadcast, the guys at the SEC network, Jordan Rogers and Cade Kubelik, the guy on the sideline, and then I'm drawing a blank on the guy, the color commentator.
Jordan Rogers tonight.
It was Jordan Rogers, but then the other guy that was up there. Anyway, they were discussing the different types of offenses and really trying to put a football perspective on the rhythm of the game. And when you're talking about South Carolina, what we were doing is we were doing a lot of deep play action passes, long developing plays. So it looked like Spencer was holding on to the ball long, but he's waiting for these plays to develop. And when they don't develop, now it looks like he's hanging on to the ball, can't get rid of it. Well, if people aren't getting open and you're sending guys on, 2 or 3 guys on route combinations, and you drop in 6, 7, 8 in coverage, it can be difficult to find the open guy. Like I said, when we started getting the ball out of our hand quicker, throwing those screens, shallow crossing routes, the curl routes, you saw that open up our offense and ultimately open up our run game. And then, we had a couple big plays that helped us, right? Jalen Brooks on 3rd down put us in field goal range. We got 3 points there. And then, like I said, that little reverse was perfectly timed for a 20-some, 30-some yard run. And you need those explosive plays to win games like that, because we were stale. We were a little stagnant, but you also got to remember that's an elite defense. I remember watching their game when they played Florida, and they were abusing Florida down there in the swamp, that defense. And that was my question going into the game was, are we going to be able to match their physicality on both sides of the football? I didn't know what that would look like, and we obviously did. And that, in my opinion, that's why we won the game. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I guarantee you we would have won, or I guarantee we would have lost if the quarterback plays. He's a projected 1st-round pick, but I can tell you it still would have been a ball game because of the level of physicality that we played on both fronts, both offense and defensive line.
To go back, and thank you, Jared. Tom Hart was that other commentator.
Tom Hart. They do a great job. I love listening to those guys.
Speaking about another guy, let's go to Alex. Alex is on the post-game show with us. Alex, how we doing?
We're doing pretty good, man. Calling again from Brazil. Missed you guys last week because brought in a brand new Gamecock fan last week, a baby boy. So still caught the game though.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Hey. So yeah, man. Perry keeps on saying everything I want to say right before I talk. So thanks, Perry. You're reading my mind all the way in the Southern Hemisphere. But it was a fantastic win all around. And each segment did the part. Special teams made a play. Defense made a huge play. And offense really got in the mix, especially in the second half when they were really letting Spencer get those shorter passes to the playmakers, and you, like NFL talent, it doesn't just mean your big arms. So you don't have to wait for these plays to develop. Like having that time and that pass to Jalen Brooks was fantastic. Right to the middle and the teeth of the defense. It was just, right on time. And he has the availability blocking upfield. Like we can do that just as much as the longer pass plays. And, seeing Marshawn against a real defense, that was a big question after the last 2 weeks. Like so many positive things. And 3rd down conversion. Like way, way better this week. So yeah, I was happy.
Well, Alex, we appreciate you calling into the program again tonight. Perry, yeah, I mean, that's something that has stood out to me. And we can go back, obviously, the last 2 weeks. I know some people, okay, it's Charlotte, it's SC State, but we've seen 3rd down conversions be a little bit better tonight, like we've seen over the last couple of weeks. And, look, I've said this before. I mean, we can sit here, we can pull any stat out and make a storyline about it. But the fact that it has been improving, 6 for 14 tonight, can that be better? Certainly. Absolutely. But I did like more so in the second half some of those 3rd down conversions. I mean, this is a team, though, Perry, look, all things considered, being able to score early, being spotted 7 points. I mean, let's just call it for what it is. Being spotted 7 points and then having opportunities to go down and score and make it even more than the turn. You had opportunities to do that.
Yep.
Yet you weren't able to capitalize. Now, again, I'm not trying to be Mr. Negative Nancy here, but the point being is South Carolina, and this is a good thing. This is where I'm going with all this. South Carolina showed a lot of good tonight, but they still have not put a complete game together, and that's the scary thing. That's the scary thing. They were able to beat the 13th ranked team on the road. On the road. And there's going to be some people that will say, well, they had a backup quarterback. I mean, look, I've had to hear this for the last 6 years covering this team. 7, how many freaking years it's been covering the Gamecocks? What about Kenny Thrills or, this quarterback, that quarterback, all these backups that look like Heisman winners when they go out there and play against South Carolina? That wasn't the case tonight. That wasn't the case. And there was a lot of positives that you can take away from tonight. We can dig into some of the things still, but the point being is this team, they left a lot out on the field, but yet they still found a way to get the win. And that's the scary part about how good this team can still be heading into the bye week.
No, I mean, I want to focus on nothing but the good, right? I don't want to talk about a couple of the offensive woes or whatever. I want to talk about a couple things that have continued to circle in my mind about what I have liked about this team. I think this team's got a lot of young talent. 2 guys that start on defense. Nick, I don't know how to pronounce his last name, the safety.
Nick Eamon-Worry.
Eamon-Worry. We played against him last year when I was at AC Flora, an absolute stud. DQ Smith from Spring Valley. 2 local Midlands guys starting on South Carolina's defense and being damn good players, if I can add that too. So the future is looking bright there, in my opinion. Offensively, I thought that we got really creative at times to create explosive plays. I love that. I love the improvement, really, in the second half adjustments that we were able to make as a team, and that Spencer was able to. He really struggled in the first half, but you play a 4-quarter game, not 2 quarters, right? And he came out, was efficient, took care of the football, and moved the sticks. And listen, he was going up against a great defense on the road, top 15 program, top 15 team, definitely without a doubt, top 25 program in the country. Mark Stoops does a great job at Kentucky. And I'll tell you, we went in there and we matched and out physicaled them on both sides of the football. And if we can play like that each and every week, there's not a team on our schedule that we can't win, that we can't beat. So, we get a well-rested bye week, get ready for Texas A&M in a couple weeks. They're a team right now that's hanging with Bama, and they're giving Bama all they can handle and more. But that doesn't mean that we can't go and play defense like we're doing now and be efficient on offense, kind of like in baseball. Mike, I don't know if you're a baseball guy or not, but it's like, you play small ball. What is small ball? It's, you play great defense, you get timely hits, you move runners, and when guys are in scoring position, right, you get the timely hits. And you win games 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, but you win the ball game, right? That's the kind of vibe that I got from our team tonight, is that we might not be a juggernaut on offense, and that's okay. But if we can be timely, play great defense, and then obviously we probably have the top special teams unit in the country.
Let's just go right into that, because Kenneth brings up, how do you think our special teams compares to the elite teams of college? Let me say this, and I'll have I'll have this stat up tomorrow, because I went back and I could try to pull it up in real time right now. But the point being is, when Will Muschamp's teams were here, and I'm not trying to go back and, the point, what I'm trying to get at is this: the number of games, right? I'm trying to pull the stat up here, and maybe I'll pass it off to Perry for a second while I look for it. But the number of games, I think there were 4 years in the first couple, I think now this is 18, 19 games in the Beamer era. I say all that because I think this is more, in 19. So I say that because we're seeing an impact on the field, but it goes back to things that we have talked about so many times before, ad nauseum in the past. The fact that, number one, Beamer has invested so heavily in special teams. We can sit here, talk Beamer ball, all that. You know what? That's great. It's a slogan. That's fantastic. It means absolutely nothing, though, unless you apply it. And Beamer has applied it. And what do I mean by that? Well, he's invested in by having a special teams coordinator, a full-time special teams coordinator, and not just any special teams coordinator. Beamer's going to get a lot of the credit because of the Beamer name, and rightfully so. And it starts with him by investing in. But you have to have to give credit to Pete Lembo. And they saw something. I know Beamer talked about it at the half when they were going in. They saw something this week, and they came at it heavily, and they were able to get that block. That was an opportunity to go up 2 scores. Unfortunately, they had the turnover there, but their special teams continues to change games. Xavier Leggett, poor guy last week, 2 drop catches. This week had a big kickoff return. Guys are continuing to find ways. To carry on Joyner, I know some people keep asking, where's DK? Where's DK? He's making an impact on special teams. You might not notice it, but he's making an impact. And I keep saying the importance of special teams, not just for games like this, but in terms of creating that culture, right? A guy like Nick Muse tomorrow is getting activated for the Vikings. The reason why Nick got drafted is because he came back last season and because he wanted to play special teams. So I say these things because guys are truly buying into special teams, and you're seeing it, how it impacts the game when they do care. So I think that's a big thing you have to really look at. They're getting the results, but they're getting the results because these players are truly buying into what the hell these coaches are preaching to them.
Yeah, no, I mean, if we're going to play elite defense and elite special teams, you have to just get by on offense, right? Like we're now in, we've just completed our 6th game. We're halfway through the regular season. We're 4-2. We're diving into conference play. And like I said, if we're going to play elite defense, be great on special teams. And I know we didn't do it in the first half, but take care of the ball like we did in the second. We're going to be in every single ball game that we play in. And, we won't win all of them. We won't lose all of them. So we've we had a really good blend of each unit picking each other up as a coach. Now that's something that you always look for is like, listen, like offense might have their night when defense doesn't. And they got to help pick each other up. If we're going to be in a shootout, we're in a shootout. If we're in a defensive battle, we're in a struggle. Both units got to pick each other up. And tonight, the defense, man, I tell you, they did a phenomenal job picking up the offense, continuing to give them the ball more opportunities to score. And I love it. People love to bust the offensive coordinator up. They just he's the scapegoat when things go wrong. But I'll tell you, everybody got to give him credit. There were a couple really timely calls that helped spring enormous plays to help seal the deal tonight. Because if we don't, say we don't score that last series and we have to kick a field goal and it's 20-7 at the time, and then Kentucky scores and they get the ball back. Do you think Kentucky's in a hurry to push the ball down the field to throw that late pick only in a 1-possession game? No, I mean that was a nail in the coffin type of play call, and so we have to give credit where credit is due there. Obviously, we all want to see more points and more explosion, but listen, you got to do things that are going to win the ball game, and we did that. And we all, as a fan base, alumni, lettermen, we got to be excited that the program's on the right track, and everybody wants to see instant results. But you go and you win on a top 15 team on the road in a pretty good environment. In the fashion that we did, that you can win game. I mean, South Carolina always has been, when they're good, they're really good on defense and they run the ball well. For whatever reason, it doesn't matter who's coaching, whether it's Coach Spurrier or it was Lou Holtz, or when we had those good, a couple good years with Coach Muschamp. We run the ball well and play great defense, force turnovers. We did that. We won the game. And, man, I hope that we can find a way to do that the rest of the year.
We have Blake on the line right now. Blake, thank you for waiting patiently. You're on the GC Live postgame show. Looks like you're muted there, intern Joe.
Still trying to connect with Blake.
All right. When Joe has, because we had 2 calls right there, Joe would just give us a thumbs up, whether it be Blake, whether it be another caller. We will get to you as soon as you are ready. Again, that is the number if you want to call into the program, 803-567-3796. If you want to hop on the GC Live post-game show, as soon as I get the thumbs up from Joe, we will go back. But if not, we'll try to answer some of these questions here on the side. see what Chris has to say. Will this win push us up in the rankings, or does this even matter at this point? Number one, I don't think rankings really mean anything, especially at this point. I mean, it's more so for, talking points than anything else. But I wouldn't hold your breath if you expect to see South Carolina make the top 25 for being able to beat a team that's a Power 5 team. Looks like we have Blake is back. We will get Blake on. Blake, how you doing? Thank you for waiting patiently. You're on the GC Live Postgame Show.
Hey, you asked me how I'm doing. I could not be better, man. There is no better time to be a Gamecock. I feel nothing but optimism. Yeah, there's some stuff I saw tonight that had me ready to have a heart attack. I literally broke the window screaming on the first play of the game in my house.
Blake, you broke the windows?
Yeah, all the windows in my house are shattered. I'm gonna be broke Monday, but it's okay. We won. I want to get a couple things across, and then I'll hang up and listen. Unless you guys want to expound on it anymore. 2 points. Kentucky is a fraud. If you want to have a conversation about how to be a viable force in the SEC, tonight is a concrete proof example of why you cannot have a one-dimensional offense. Their offense relies totally on Will Levis, and we saw what happens when you do that, because when your one-star player goes down, you're screwed. I caught a lot of flack on the Gamecock Central pages, things on Facebook this week saying that we had a chance to win this game. I think something South Carolina fans have done way too much is get in our heads about the numbers and, they're ranked number 13. Oh, gee, well, it's a road game. Beamer's never won a road game. What are we going to do? We're not even going to win. Well, if you don't think you're going to win, why show up? And we showed up tonight. Kentucky played Miami, Ohio, Youngstown State, Northern Illinois. They played 3 trash teams, and so they're not much different than us on that. The 2 good teams they played, Ole Miss, Will Levis choked not once, not twice, but 3 times in prime time. He had every opportunity to win that game last week. And then their other SEC win is against what was ranked number 12 overrated Florida. So that summarizes my point. Kentucky's a fraud. Last thing I want to say, just going back to my point about, there's never been a more optimistic time to be a Gamecock fan. They put up a stat at the end of the game tonight that this is the first time as an unranked team that we beat a top 25 team by more than 20 points or something since 2009. I said at the beginning of the year, it feels like 2009 again. The Gamecocks are getting warmed up. We're not perfect, but we have made strides compared to where we were 2 years ago under the Muschamp era. And I'm just so freaking excited to see where we're going. And I'm not going to let any negative hater talk me out of it. All right. Thanks.
Well, Blake, I appreciate that. And that's a great time, Perry, to be able to do a quick transition before I want to add a point onto what Blake was saying. If you bust out your window, sometimes, you might just have to find a new place. And if you want to find a new place, then call Clint Hammond. He'll be able to help you out, over at the Mortgage Network. He is one of the best. I know Perry spoke about how he went through Clint and being able to get everything situated with when he bought his home. So be able to give Clint a call, and he'll be able to help you guys out with that. And in addition to that, today's program is also brought to you by Liberty Tax. Overcome taxiety, always getting ready to deal with tax season. Feels like it is a 365-day ordeal when you have to really think about dealing with all this stuff. So give them a call at 803-462-5576. Another proud sponsor of GC Live. I do want to bring this up, Perry. I do want to bring this up, and then I believe Joe is going to get the video of Shane Beamer in the locker room after the game, which was just absolutely awesome, by the way. Why I don't think it's, don't get too caught up with rankings and this and that. I do feel like it's important to take care of first. Being able to beat a team on the road in the Shane Beamer era, that is important. Being able to beat a ranked team on the road is important because it's able to show you, hey, we can actually do it. We can actually do it. And again, being able to get these last 2 wins, I know that there were a lot of people that were skeptical. I get it, because you saw what happened the first 3 weeks. You saw what happened against Georgia, how flat they were. And it was going to take some time for this offense to get going. And it's still going to take some time with this offense. I mean, I think that's clear. We've seen some things tonight that were improvements in comparison to what we
Mhm.
got the first 3 games. But at the same time, too, there are some flaws. There are some things that they're going to need to clean up. And the fact that they're heading into a bye week right now, coming off a win, 4-2 on the year. I mean, talk about what a difference 3 weeks makes. But I say all that because this team, they have confidence right now. And that's what we saw from Shane Beamer after the game. I want to go to this video. This is Shane Beamer after the game in the locker room.
Oh, no volume, dog.
See if intern Joe can get that volume up on that one. But he was fired up. Colin Taylor, coworker of ours over at Gamecock Central, recorded him walking in underneath the stands into the locker room, and this man was fired up. So for people that thought, okay, the whole culture thing, glasses, dancing, this and that, it means something. It means something. I'll wait for intern Joe to give us.
Well, listen, I'll tell you right now, all of that, the glitz and the glasses and the glamour and the love and the positive energy, it's all good when you tee it up and you bow up and you play physical football and you're disciplined football and you're doing what you're supposed to do, because what you're doing is you're building a culture and you're building a chemistry within your team to where you truly feel like a family. Now you add that with the actual X's and O's side of the game, and those come together to mesh, and you're going to have a lot of great outcomes. I hate to use this comparison, but it's worked really well for Clemson. And, we seem to be heading down that path.
All right, you said, Perry, adjust that camera, man. Well, Perry's just enjoying himself on the couch. I don't know what the setup is over at the Orth household right now. But
relax, man. How about that, pal?
We'll see if we can get the video up. All right, let's check on Beamer after the game. Still no sound, unfortunately. I don't know if you can hear it, Joe, but you know what? This is what we'll do. We won't be able to see it, but I'll play the sound. Well, oh man, we need the video. This video is incredible. Intern Joe, refresh that. Do something, man. I mean, that thing's lagging. We need to show this video. If you haven't seen it yet, the celebration that took place in South Carolina's locker room is as good as you could have expected it to be, Barry.
Yeah, I literally had somebody just send me that video as you were talking. No, I mean they should accept. It's a huge win. I mean,
Let's give it a try. Yeah, we're getting no audio, so what we'll do is I'm going to do old school, crappy.
Do it.
Find a way to make it happen. It was great. Let's see what we can do here. I'll say this though, South Carolina being able to. Here we go.
With the media, make sure we're classy in our post game with the media. All right, but at SEC Media Day, he talked about stupid sunglasses and dancing. Come on,
Yeah.
This is what I was talking about. And I don't think it surprises anybody that Beamer downplayed it, that anyone downplayed it. The fact that, okay, hey, and this and that. What do you expect him what do you expect him to say? There's nothing that he could have done in the moment when asked that question. It's, hey, I'm going to remember that. And when we play you in a couple weeks, we're just going to put that in our back pocket. I mean, what? Now, there's going to be people out there.
That is really, really cool. And I know that does great for recruiting. It shows your coach is with it, that he carries a little chip on his shoulder. It's everything that you want when you're trying to do a culture rebuild, right? Building a program the football side of it is obviously extremely important, but it's the mindset and the mentality of the kids that and the coaches that are with you in your program is equally, if not more important. And once you can flip that switch from a mental standpoint to get the people in your program believing they can win, but then ultimately expecting to win, but then doing it together as a cohesive unit and having fun while doing it, it's invaluable.
And it's just great watching, Corey Rucker, he wasn't with the team today, but he just tweeted, take a look in the mirror, say what's up. But I mean, this is the little things. Now here's the thing, right? There's gonna be people out there, look at South Carolina celebrating like they just won the national championship. Point being is this is what I would say to fans who are going to see that, because you'll see other fan bases say all that stuff. Bottom line is this: South Carolina isn't in the same place where Georgia is right now. They're not in the same place where Alabama is. They're trying to create something special here. Okay. They're trying to be able to get to a point where they can compete with the big dogs. And to be able to see what they've done, 6 games in to year 2, the fact that they were able to go beat number 13 Kentucky on the road, and you see just the celebration and the happiness. It's okay to say, hey, you know what? I'm happy where this program is at right now. That's okay to say. It's okay to recognize there's a lot of work still left to be done, and while being able to smile with it too. So it's good to see that stuff. I do want to go back to some of these comments here. Shout out to T. T won a Bojangles gift card, by the way. And also got a birthday present. I want to throw this out. I usually don't bring up any of the Bojangles stuff on the GC stuff, but Perry. So typically what happens is we give 1 Bojangles gift card away. 5 gift cards away after every Gamecock win. I'm going to give those 5 away, Perry. Okay. So I have these 5, but because they beat the number 13th ranked team in the country, I'm going to throw in an additional 13. So we're going to give away 18 gift cards on Monday. So just want to throw that out there to get Gamecock fans ready to go. Be on the lookout for that tweet on Monday. Because I wanted to give T a shout out. I'm going through some of these comments right here. Let's see. I know you don't want to talk about negative, and I'm not trying to get into negative, but can you explain some of the good at least you saw from Rattler tonight?
Yeah, the improvement from one half to the next. I think that the first half, obviously, he did struggle. I think the commentary that Jordan Rogers gave was phenomenal. He was off his platform, kind of rushing his throws, didn't have his feet set while making some of the throws that he needed to. And it caused him to be inaccurate. His interception, I'm not going to sit here and say that it was a bad decision. I mean, it was just an underthrow. Then he came out in the second half, and like I said when we started the show tonight, we got the ball into the playmaker's hands, got the ball out of his hand quickly, and he played within the offense, right? When you're that talented, you want to try to make every play happen every time, when most times you need to just make something happen. But I am going to pause you for 1 second because I'm sitting here on the couch, and I don't know if you are able to follow this or not, but Texas A&M has the ball on the 2-yard line playing Alabama. With 2 seconds left, and it's a 24-20 game, and they just called timeout.
I'm not. I'll have to see if I can pop that up in a second. I know we
kind of crazy, but no. To go back to what I was saying about Spencer is that he has improved from week to week, and Kentucky's a really, really strong defense. And I mean, I've been saying this because I remember when I played against Kentucky, Mark Stoops obviously was the head coach at that time. His style of defense is keep everything in front and rush up and make a tackle, be great form tacklers, all 11 hats to the football, get out there and make it happen. And it looked like early tonight we kept trying to design plays to go down the field. Now his defensive strategy may have changed. It's been 6, 7 years now since I played, so things can obviously change. But then when Rattler was getting the ball out of his hand quickly, I mean, it was a completely different game.
I'm trying to see here. Joe's intern Joe looks like he's working on the phone lines right now.
Okay.
See if we can get another call. If not, We'll come back to him in a little bit. Thumbs up, thumbs down, Joe. Thumbs down, thumbs down. All right. We don't like seeing thumbs down, but hey, it's part of it. You got to adjust. And speaking about adjusting, and it kind of goes off of what you just said there, Perry. I understand it's easy to be like, all right, shoot, you've went through this before as a backup. You went through this as a starter. The most popular man on a football team is the backup quarterback. So I say that because I get that some people at times like, hey, why don't they go to Doty? Why don't they go to Doty? What would you tell those people right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you that, it's hard. It's when you're struggling like that, it's easy to point the finger and say, hey, we need, we need to go to the backup. We need something different. It's a judgment call from the coaches. They have to understand, is now the right time to do that? Will it damage our guys' confidence? Are we riding with Spencer Rattler until he's either hurt or the wheels have completely fell off the train? I don't know the dynamic of what that looked like. I don't know if when he came in, was he the guy no matter what, and Luke Doty was his backup moving forward. But I know that Luke Doty obviously is a more than capable player, as he was the starter going into last year and for much of the season last year. I think that if we have another game where Spencer struggles throughout the entire course of the game, then I think that you might have the opportunity to open a discussion of, hey, maybe there might be a little bit of a competition in practice that week to see what might, what door might open up.
It looks like we got a phone call right now. Joe, we have Jay on the line. Jay, how we doing? Thank you for calling into the GC Live Postgame Show. Jay.
We got you, boss. Hello. No Jay.
No Jay. Well, if Jay comes back, we'll get you on, babe. But look, I haven't seen the exact comments yet from Spencer Rattler and Shane Beamer. We heard in that video with Beamer saying, hey, guys, be careful when you're out there in front of the media, when you're talking. But I'm a little interested myself now to see, and I know some people are asking, where can you see this? Where can we watch that? Bottom line is this. There are rights in terms of who can air that stuff. That's why we can't cut in and show you that in real time, or else we would. And we're just not going to promote another show as to where you can listen to that, because we want you to be here with us. We pay Perry the big bucks here. We want to make sure that you guys are sticking around. But I do want to point out some of these.
Let me ask you this, Mike. Let me ask you this: the coach and Spencer throwing major shade. Are they saying major shade at Kentucky for maybe some of the comments that were made at the media days?
That's what I'm assuming. I'm trying to go through it myself. This is just coming from the comment section. Shane Beamer was doing the Soldier Boy dance in the locker room per Juice Wells. Spectacular stuff. I haven't seen. Let's see, Beamer. Shane Beamer's daughter, Olivia, this is from Ben Portnoy from the state newspaper. Shane Beamer's daughter, Olivia, came into the post-game presser with Pitt Viper sunglasses. College football at its finest. That is fantastic. Look, I again, going back to what we talked about at the beginning of the program. Spencer, good to go. All right. Joe, you said Spencer's good to go?
We missed Spencer. We got another caller on the line. Go ahead.
Hey guys, was really happy with the win today. Happy with how special teams play, how the defense played, and I don't want to get super negative, but I have a question for Perry on how a offensive coordinator's mindset going into the game can kind of guide their play calls. I've heard he talk about Spurrier in the past with how he would go straight at the opposing defensive strength, and with his experience with Roper and his own coaching experience, interested to hear if that's something that can change over the course of a season. Like if Satterfield just needs more, confidence in his players or what. But just curious about the behind the scenes perspective from a play caller standpoint.
No, I think those are great questions. I'll tell you, as somebody who's calling plays at the high school level now, it certainly does change because your strength and your strengths and your weaknesses, they kind of can change as your team develops and you grow throughout the course of a season. And the other thing too is your injuries, and people play better, they grow up. Some people actually get worse. But yeah, you can change the style of plays, the type of plays that you have called. I think that from what I can see now, I don't know anything about our system that we run at South Carolina now. I've never met Coach Satterfield, but it doesn't look to have changed per se. But what it does look like is there are times where we are getting in over the last couple of weeks, we are trying to get the ball out of Spencer's hand quicker to where he's not always in the drop back world, so he can set himself up for potentially getting sacked. We've obviously made a more and put more of an emphasis on the run game. Obviously, Marshawn Lloyd, in my opinion, is one of the better backs in the conference. And anytime you can get the ball in his hand, you're going to want to do it. But your play calling can change and can mold as the season grows and goes, and as your team kind of shows themselves to you, right? From my personal experience, you have our team, the high school that I coach at. We started off the year running the ball really well, and so that was a big area of focus that we wanted to come out and run the football and take control of the game. But our passing game has come along as the season has come along. And so now we're able to open it up a little bit more from a passing attack too. So I think that we have the weapons to effectively throw the football. I just think that sometimes it doesn't work out. And I think when we play teams that are not top 25 defenses, we'll be able to see that change as well. Like Rattler lit Arkansas up through the air, right? We just couldn't run the ball. Georgia, obviously, that's a buzzsaw. They're the number one defense in the probably in the country. Tonight, Kentucky's another really good defense. So it'll be interesting to see how the offense changes. But I for this South Carolina team, I expect them to continue to put an emphasis on running the football.
Well, we have Jay on the line. Jay, you're on the GC Live Postgame Show.
Hey guys, y'all do a great job with the show. Shout out to Perry from Ponte Vedra, Florida. The thing that I have a hard time understanding is we only got 7 points the whole season in the first quarter. And that was against SC State. And our first half are just so flat. 5 possessions, only one big play. Second half, they just come out. It's almost like they're not hungry or something. So what is the offensive identity of this team? It seems to me it's short passes, screen passes, medium passes, and then get some explosive runs in there. But it's definitely not deep passes. It's not spin and throw it like the OC was talking about in the press conference.
I appreciate that, Jay.
Perry, shout out Ponte Vedra. I like it.
Perry, let me ask you this, because it feels like, in a sense, and I know, dealing with the Patriots now, I had a press conference that I had to cover Bill Belichick yesterday. And, the way he addresses the media, it's like, well, that's last week. That's how we attacked things last week.
Yeah, that's right.
Do you feel like, because we hear so much with Marcus Satterfield, this NFL mindset, right? And I don't know if it's different a little bit with college compared to the NFL, but what I'm trying to get at is, do you feel like they try to change it up a little bit too much, where they're not who they're trying to be? They're worried more about the defense, if that makes sense. And the reason I ask that is because it feels like that's something I'm being asked a lot on the Insider Forum on Gamecock Central, and people are asking, is South Carolina getting away from some of their strengths, or how do you kind of, overcome that week to week?
Well, I think there's a way about doing what you do and who you are against the teams that you play, if that makes sense. Like, if you're a gap scheme team, right, you want to run power and counter and trap and different things like that. You can do that, but you can't just say, like, I'm going to line up in the same formations I did last week and try to do the same thing against Texas A&M that I did versus Kentucky 2 weeks ago, right? That doesn't make any sense. You obviously have to tailor and tweak a few things and throw in a few wrinkles that are team specific that, hey, you see something on film. Like, for instance, we played a team at the school that I'm coaching at, and I really, really liked the look that they gave us in 3-by-1, right? The 3 receivers to one side and 1 to the left. We're still running our same plays, right? That's just a very specific look that I personally liked, and I can guarantee you that that's what Coach Satterfield does as well. I think that big plays and explosive plays are so crucial for an offense. I mean, it's hard. I don't care who you're playing to consistently drive the ball up and down the field week in and week out, especially in this conference. We have to find ways to create explosive plays, and that doesn't always come from just dropping back, 7-man protection and launching the ball down the field. I think there are still ways to do it. Obviously, the time that the calls have to be timely. The other thing is quarterback's got to see it. That's kind of one thing that we as fans don't see is, okay, holding on to the ball too long. Well, what's wrong? Is he just simply holding on to the ball too long, or is he not seeing the field properly? What's going on? Because
Perry, I'll say this. Perry, I'll say that. I'll say this, and I know you have much better perspective of it watching it as a quarterback. I've been fortunate the last couple of days to go back and watch the All-22 and look at the wider view. And from a broadcast standpoint, or even if you're in the stands, depending on where you're sitting, it's difficult to be able to see everything. It's obviously easier when you're at the games, but from a broadcast standpoint tonight, those are the questions you're asking. Are guys getting open? One thing I did notice early on in the year, and it was a little bit better last week, South Carolina was starting to create more separation. I do feel it was a combination at the beginning of the year, and this is just from what I saw, that there were times where Rattler had targets and maybe he was hesitating a little bit more just because, from a comfortability standpoint, right? Trying to adjust to a new playbook, figuring out from a timing standpoint of, okay, what's that internal clock with the offensive lineman? When can I step up in the pocket? When am I going to have to get outside? So I think there were multiple things that were happening the first couple weeks. The last couple ones, and obviously I haven't seen the All-22 yet of tonight's game, but going back to last week, the separation has improved. Now, there's still times where Rattler held on to the ball a little bit longer, but I think that's played a role as to why we've seen so many short passes, because I think what Satterfield's trying to do, and I could be completely wrong with this, what Satterfield's trying to do is there's been hesitation with Rattler at times. There were guys maybe just not getting open at times, but he knows in his head Rattler has a quick arm. He has the chance to be able to get the ball out. Why not try to take advantage of it and give it to guys that have the ability to make plays, whether it be a guy like Juice Wells or whoever. Now, obviously, you keep doing that over and over and over. That's one thing, and I understand why there's frustration from the fan base as far as that goes, but just trying to make sense of it. I'm not trying to excuse it, but just trying to make sense of it.
Yeah, no, you talk about the fan base. The fan base is too vocal, just for one. Everybody knows everything, but that's not South Carolina specific fan base. It
happens up here with the Patriots. I'm covering it here. It doesn't matter what, and that's the beauty of sports. It's the beauty of sports.
It's everybody knows that, football's one of those, and it's always been that way as long as you and I have been alive and much longer. Because football is like the sport in America, everybody wants to know, or they want to feel that they know football, so they just vocalize when things go wrong. They want to coach after the fact, right? You want to catch things on the front end, right? So, we the last thing that I pray, and there's no way in the world they do this, is that our coaching staff is listening to feedback from the fan base and then putting that into the game plans each and every week, because I can assure you that is 1,000% a losing recipe. You're going to have your folks that understand the game, that are in the game, that voice their opinion, but they're not going to get out there and belittle coaches and belittle players. Like that comment, the fire, like you'll never hear me get on on any show ever and ask for kids to get benched or coaches to get fired. They're doing a really difficult job, and they're coaching against elite coaches. And I get it. We all want to win. No need to not be competitive. But yeah, that would be a recipe for disaster if we start taking a Q&A from the fan base and then implementing that into the game plan.
Well, Matthew's ready for the Japan Grand Prix, whatever the heck it's called. I mean, if someone's
that's right.
Okay, intern Joe. What intern Joe? You're excited for this?
I'm absolutely watching the Grand Prix. It comes on at 1 a.m.
I just called it Prix. It's called Prix. What a hambo.
The Formula One Grand Prix. It's gonna be
here I am a couple hours ago when they said, good start for Soda City, and my dad's over there with his thick Boston accent. Soda City, what's that? South Carolina known for tonic? And I said, no. I said, Columbia. But then again, I didn't know what the hell it was a couple of years ago before I got there. Joe, I do want to get some of your thoughts, but I do want to bring up a stat, though, that was something that I brought up on during Quick Slants. And for those of you who are unfamiliar, each week on Gamecock Central, I kind of do 3 keys of the game that I feel like South Carolina needs to be able to do if they want to be able to win. And just looking back at it, my 3 keys this week were win the first quarter. And I want to get into that specifically in just a little bit. Stick to the run to open up the passing game. Felt like they did that at times. It was more so short passes, which is an extension of the run game. And then number 3, create sacks and stop the run. Again, can they do a better job at stopping the run? Yeah, but at the same time, too, all things considered, a team that you knew that were going to try to run the football, especially with a backup quarterback, they did that, and they took advantage of this team, and they were able to have more sacks tonight than they had all season going in. They were ranked 6th last in FBS before tonight. 4 sacks. I believe they had, what was it, 6 tonight maybe? I mean, I could be a little bit off here. 5. Let's see. How many sacks did they have tonight? They had, Joe, do we have that stat for it?
Yeah. Let me pull it up real quick.
But while you look that stat up, though, one thing I do want to point to is that first quarter stat, excuse me. Okay. This is what I wrote earlier in the week. Okay. In 16 games, this is 16 games going into tonight's game. In 16 games against FBS opponents, the Gamecocks have been outscored 132-50 in the first quarter. Think about that. In the Shane Beamer era, in just 5 of those games, South Carolina has outscored their opponents. And when they do, they're 4-1 in those games. So I say all that because, again, we've heard Shane Beamer talk about it the last couple of weeks, that they're a team that has done better in the fourth quarter, especially against FBS opponents, but we've seen it against FCS teams as well. If they can come out and play fast, tonight they had opportunities to make that score even bigger, right? But the fact that they were leading after the first quarter, they are now 5-1 when they outscore opponents in the first quarter in the Shane Beamer era. Perry, is that any coincidence?
No, because we play really, really well in the second half. We do a great job of turning the tables and making those adjustments in the second half. I know Coach Beamer got blasted by, I think Barstool put it on there talking about that they were, I don't remember the record he said for the fourth quarter, but he made a good point, though, because we do play better as the game goes along, right? We just got to find a way to spark plug. And that was the first thing I thought of because that was a comment that stuck out to me. And then when we went up 7-0, I was like, we haven't jumped on anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Hardly at all.
Barry, I know we're at the hour mark, so you stay on as long as you want. We'll probably go for a little bit longer. We have another phone call coming in here. But,
let's do the phone call.
Looks like intern Joe's taking that. We have a lot of comments tonight.
Feeling good when you win.
Mike, we're not going to talk about the body bag tweet you put on.
Oh, that was awesome.
Look, I don't, we have fun on social media. There's going to be some people out here that have no idea that I'm covering the Patriot. They have no idea what's going on here when I put some of these tweets out. I'll just say this. Don't come after me, my girl, or my family. I mean, come on, man. What do you expect I'm going to do? But we'll have fun with it. I'm not going to be mean. But I offer, for people that don't know, someone tweeted something about me, and I invited them out with my girlfriend and their blow-up girlfriend, if their parents will let them take it out of the basement. All right, let's go to the phone calls here. Matthew is excited. Matthew, thank you for joining the GC Live post-game show.
Hey, thanks, man. What a difference a half makes.
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll be honest with you. I've been patient all season, been on the message board. I've been trying to be the voice of positivity, and at halftime, it was hard. It was hard to feel that way. But, stuck with it and had faith, and I was very pleased with what I saw in the second half. But, I still don't know how they only scored, I don't even count the second half touchdown, but I don't know how we kept them to 7 points for 3 quarters. The defense, I have to go back and watch the game because it felt like they were running against us, but they weren't scoring. So I don't know. I was very happy with the second half, but I was starting to lean a little towards the dark side there at halftime.
Well, I think, look, and we appreciate you calling into the program. I think what we saw from South Carolina is they made some adjustments. And I want to bring this one up in particular, Perry, because it really stood out to me. The perimeter blocking was phenomenal. That's something that has got better as the season's gone on. Give big credit to Justin Stepp in the job with the receivers because they made some big-time blocks tonight. So I felt like they were able to get the ball just into their playmakers' hands. I know that's something you mentioned early on, Perry. Just get the ball into your playmakers' hands. And if you go out on the perimeter, you're going to have to find ways to obviously make defenders miss because there's situations where it's one-on-one, right? They're not going to put a blocker out there. They're saying you're talented enough. We expect you to make the defender miss. But there's also times we've seen the perimeter receivers or whoever there was out there, tight ends, do a good job blocking on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, it's a rule of mine. It was a rule of mine in high school and tried to do it in college is whenever you're carrying the football, especially when you're as talented as some of the guys that we have now, you should never be tackled by the first guy. You should always have multiple people having to bring you to the ground. And we have guys that are capable of doing that. And it showed tonight, the play that it really did, it changed the game. I mean, the ball was maybe the 40-yard line and we were kind of like, we got a couple first downs, but we're kind of starting to get going and bam, explosive play. Like I said, it's hard to constantly and consistently sustain long, length of the field drives. You have to have big plays. You've got to have explosive plays that score points to get quick, easy touchdowns. If you can get 14 points, 21 points a game off of explosive plays, and you have a couple of good drives, you're going to average 28 to 35 every game that you play. If you do that, you should, in theory, have a chance to win every game that you play. If you can average 28 to 35 points a game, you're going to have a shot to win every football game that you play in.
And I do want to bring this up too. Jay brings up Kentucky was ranked 20th in total defense going into this game. Marcus Lattimore mentioned it the other day. You're going up, I think he called it a stingy and physical Kentucky defense. So, look, when things aren't going well from an offensive standpoint and a fan base, and I say fan base as a whole, I know it's not everyone, but as a fan base as a whole, when they're upset with the offensive coordinator in particular, it could sometimes be a quarterback or whoever, as soon as things just don't go well, right? It could be a 3-and-out, could be this or that. It's real easy to say, oh, see, here we go again. We got to fight. It's just like, well, look, you're playing against a good defense.
Yeah.
Let the game play out, okay?
Yeah.
Football is a game of chess. It is a game of chess. You're not just going to be able to do something. It's not Madden, okay? You're not going to put up 70 points every freaking time. So I understand that bottom line is this. Let me make this clear. I'm not saying that there's no flaws with this offense. They left a lot out there on the field tonight. But at the same time, too, as the game went on, they made adjustments, and we saw that in the second half. They got away with some things where if Kentucky was able to capitalize early on in the game, certainly the game could have gone the other way. No question about it.
Yep.
But look at it like this. They found a way to get a win against a very, very good team. Backup quarterback or not, that's a good team, man. That's a good team. And they were able to find a way to do something that they haven't done since 2012. 2012. That was Lattimore's last year as a Gamecock. Think about that. It's not and Perry, it's not an easy place to win.
No, it's not. I know Garcia got chopped up on social media for saying, I can tell you back then when he was playing in Kentucky was not where they were now. They might not have been a tough place to play, but the times that I went, man, it used to be Commonwealth Stadium, or it might still be now, or something like that. I know
Rover Field now. I don't know if they've changed the name. I know that we have some football fans in here that have gone out there before. They might know better than us.
Dude, that place is rocking. And we went in there, and one thing you can do to silence a hostile environment is you force turnovers on defense, and then you give the offense the ability to score quick, cheap, easy points, which we did.
Want to wrap things up in a little bit. Going to have intern Joe lead things off. Intern Joe, we haven't heard from you much tonight, and I apologize for that, buddy.
Oh, it's all good.
Sporting your Birdies with Beamer shirt. People, did you know, intern Joe, hell of a golfer. Just want to throw that out there. So go take him out to the links. Intern Joe, what was your thoughts tonight? Anything stand out to you in particular?
I mean, again, defensively, Mike, they found their identity in the non-conference games. We were worried about it going into SEC play, and I mean, they proved that they have found the identity. They carry the momentum into SEC play. I mean, granted, Levis not playing definitely helped, but stopping the run was the number one priority of this defense, and they did so for the most part. I mean, Perry, you mentioned it earlier. Limiting the big plays. I mean, South Carolina 100% won the big play battle. It is clear and obvious. And so, I think this defense needs to have a chip on their shoulder going forward, because that's a big win in a tough environment. Offensively, I think they look better. I thought it was very, 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 very funny that, the trickeration play with Jalen Brooks, that's not very pro style to me, Mike. It doesn't seem very, very pro style. The little rotate the guy in the backfield and then flip it back to the wide receiver. I love how the offense got creative. And again, rolling Spencer out a little bit, and Spencer looks better. I mean, rolling out in the pocket, his decisions were better. He used his legs, and I mean, people have said he doesn't like to get hit, and tonight I think he squashed that. But that's my closing thoughts. That's all I've had for you.
I appreciate it. Perry, what's your final thoughts? We have a guy from Jacksonville, Florida checking in. Big Howard. I don't know if Howie over there. I know, Perry, you're a Jacksonville guy.
Yeah, that's right. Shout out Duval.
Any thoughts on
a big win? Yeah, no, that was a huge win. Huge win. No, great win. Glad the fan base, Mike, fire up the hopefully we'll have consecutive days of positive Gamecock Twitter.
We'll make that one.
Sure. And and there's never a better time to win than the week going into a bye week.
Mm-hmm.
You are feeling good about yourself. You're going to have maybe 2-3 at the most practices, be able to go home, spend some time with your family, get away for a little bit, refresh, and come back for the back half of the season ready to tee it up.
Absolutely.
Joe, do we have, and I apologize that I don't have the stat sheet in front of me, was that Darius Rush that forced that fumble? Spalding.
Right.
Trying to find out who that was, and people are watching. I should know by now. I'm sorry.
Yep.
It was Spalding. Spalding had an interception tonight. Darius Rush had some good plays. I think I said Rush earlier forced the fumble, so I apologize for that. But the point being is, and thank you, Kenneth. Yep, we see a couple people on the side. Spalding. Thank you, guys. The reason I say that, though, is because these are two guys that have been banged up this year. We know being able to get Darius Rush back. So that's something that really stood out to me, is having those guys back out there. And that's not a shot against Marcellus Dial, who has 2 interceptions this year. I feel like at times, though, that Dial, there's things that I would like to see improve with his game. I feel like he's definitely grown from week 1. And I've talked about before, being a little bit more physical, coming off the perimeter on those blocks. But Marcellus has done a great job of being able to grow. No question about it. But you're a better team when you have Darius Rush out there on the field. You're a better team when you have David Spalding out on the field. So to see those guys out there tonight, especially Rush, backup quarterback or not, because we've seen it happen. We've seen it happen with South Carolina when there's backup quarterbacks out there, right? This narrative of, okay, here we go again. Who's going to be the Heisman guy of the week, the flavor of the week? That wasn't the case tonight. South Carolina kept Kentucky in check. They did a great job from a passing standpoint, and I've mentioned this before. I don't care who the hell you have in the secondary. You can have Ed Reed back there. You can have Dick Night Train Lane. You can have Sean I don't care who you have in the secondary. If you don't have a good pass rush, it's going to mean nothing. So the fact that South Carolina and Joe, I don't know if you were throwing up the 5. Is that how many sacks they had tonight? 5, 6 sacks tonight?
Yeah, 6 sacks. Yep, officially.
6 sacks tonight. The fact that they were able to do that helps those guys out in the back half. And we've seen over the last couple of years with the talented players that South Carolina has produced on the defensive line, or at least, guys that play that edge, kind of that hybrid sometimes as an outside linebacker, that have gone on to have not just successful NFL careers, but we've seen guys just go to the NFL in recent years from those positions. So that was what really stood out to me. Now head into the bye week, get healthier, especially at certain positions on defense. And you try to reevaluate some things from an offensive standpoint. You only had 2 extra days this week, but I felt like, okay, maybe we see a couple things different, wrinkles from an offensive standpoint, because we've seen that in the past with Satterfield. Maybe there were a couple things, right? Whether it be kind of that, little trickeration play with Jalen Brooks, little orbit motion, but we'll see. They have an extra week. We remember what happened last week, Texas A&M. They're coming off a tough loss right now this week against Alabama. I'm trying to figure out who they have next week. I'll try to pull that up real quick. But the whole point being is you're going to have an extra week, and they're going to be having an extra week as well. So both teams are going to be coming off bye weeks. So you're going to have a team right now in A&M that feels like they came up short, literally, against Alabama. And they're going to be thinking about that for the next 2 weeks. You're coming off a week where you're feeling good. You need to be able to do everything you can to remember what the hell happened in College Station last year when it looked like an 18-year-old playing like a 6-year-old in PlayStation. I mean, the statistics are out of control. I mean, it was like, 430 to it was embarrassing. If that doesn't motivate you, then I don't know what the hell does. And if that doesn't motivate you, I'll be back in town. So I'll see you guys. Okay. Win one for the Gipper, win one for Mikey. I'll be coming down there. So I'm excited, Perry.
Love it. Got to win, guys. Number one thing, Gamecock football players and coaches. You got to win for Mike Uva. He's back in town.
We'll bring the gift cards too. I do want to wrap this up though. Wrap it up by saying this. Okay. 4-2 right now for a team 3 weeks ago, where not everyone was writing them off, but for a team 3 weeks ago, it looked like they had a lot of work still to do, right? And they still had, it was a challenge. They had a tough schedule to start. They have made strides. They have made improvements over the last 3 weeks. They still have plenty of room to improve on multiple areas. No question about it. But now you are 2 steps closer, 2 wins at that, for being bowl eligible. And when you talk about a program that is trying to change the culture, be able to get some of these younger guys developed, this is huge. It is massive to be able to get those extra practices. It is massive because we're talking about next year. And then, you're hoping you're going to get into a position where you're starting to compete for conference titles, or at least the divisional titles at that. So, that's much further down the line, but all these little steps we're seeing right here, it's all one giant puzzle. These little pieces, starting to add them up. Perry, I appreciate you, buddy. Intern Joe, appreciate you as well. No show next week. No show. We're going to take a bye week as well. We'll decide if we're going to have a show on Tuesday. We'll have to still figure that out. We'll have a show quite yet for Talking Tuesdays because the Gamecocks will be off. So be on the lookout on Gamecock Central for that. But guys, appreciate you, and appreciate everyone that tuned in tonight. If you're going out, I know it's a late one right now. If you're going out, no waters needed to be mixing tonight. Have yourself a good weekend, and we'll do it again in 2 weeks.